Hi, 7th graders. If you're watching this video, it is because you are a giraffe. What you're going to do is there's 6 problems for review. Do those 6 problems first. Pause the video now. Do those 6, come back, and then where it says video examples, I have 2 examples for you. All right, if you are watching this right now, it's because you've already done your first 6 examples, and now you're ready to watch 2 examples for us to do together. These are just some sort of challenge problems. Our first one is negative 6.2 plus 3/4, and we want to know what this will be. A couple ways of approaching this. How I think about this is I have one negative and I have one positive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the 2 numbers and keep the sign of the greater number. That's the first thing I'm going to put in my head. I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of the greater number. You don't have to write this down. This is just what I do for myself. So now I can't add decimals and fractions together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so I can add them. I need to make this 3/4 into a decimal. And I can do that by doing top goes in, bottom goes out. 4 goes into 3, no times, so I'll put a decimal point and I can add a 0. 4 goes into 37 times, and 7 times 4 is 28. I subtract and I get 2. I can add another 0 and bring it down. 4 goes into 25 times. 5 times 4 is 20 with nothing left over. So I know that 3/4 is equivalent to 75 hundredths. So I'm going to write that down. Instead of my 3/4, I'm going to replace it with 0.75. Now I need to add these together. I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of the greater number. Well, one's negative and one's positive, so my answer is going to be negative. Now I will subtract. 6 2/10 is larger than 75 hundredths. And I just made this mistake, so make sure you're careful. You need to line up your decimal points when you are adding or subtracting. Now I'm subtracting. 0 minus 5, I need to borrow. This becomes a 1, and this is 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 1 minus 7 I can't do. I will borrow from the 6, make it a 5. 11 minus 7 is 4. And 5 minus 0 is 5. And I'll bring my decimal point straight down. The difference between these 2 numbers is 5 and 45 hundredths. So we said it's going to be negative because there's more bad guys than good guys. That is example 1. You'll have 2 more problems just like this. These are challenge problems. These are difficult problems. So if you're like, oh, my brain's exploding, it should be. These are really hard. This is your chance. You've already mastered adding and subtracting. This is your chance to push it. All right, on to the second example. Now the second example is negative 2 3/10 times negative 4 8/10 times negative 2. Now, the first thing that I would ever do when I'm solving this problem is I'm going to decide if it's negative or positive. I can often eliminate answer choices based on that. So I have a negative times a negative, which would make a positive. But then it's times another negative, so I know my answer has to be negative. Now multiplying decimals, 2.3 times 4.8. When multiplying decimals, you do not have to line up the decimals. You line them up just as normal numbers. In this case, they happen to line up. I'll just multiply normally. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 2 is 16. Plus 2 more gives me 18. I'll put my placeholder. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. Add 1 is 9. 4 plus 0 is 4. 8 plus 2 is 10. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 9 is 11. Now I have to decide where am I going to put the decimal point. I moved this decimal over once, and this one over once. So I moved it a total of 2 times, which means I need to move it back a total of 2 times. We already said that our answer is going to be negative because a negative times a negative times a negative ends up being negative. And it's negative 11 and 4 hundredths. You have a couple more examples on the backside. They are challenging and difficult. If you need to rewatch a video, there's 2 examples. Good luck.